Hey, I'm Travis T-Bone Turner with Bone Collector, and welcome to the Whitetail Edge podcast.
All right, guys. Thank you for tuning into the Whitetail Edge podcast. I'm here with a legend of the industry, someone that doesn't need any introduction, Mr. Travis T-Bone Turner from the Bone Collector. T-Bone, how are you, sir?
Dude, man, those accolades, am I gonna be charged for all those nice accolades? I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I can't thank you enough, T-Bone, for hopping on here and joining me on the podcast. For someone like me that's grown up watching Bone Collector, I mean, you're such a humble guy yourself, and so like I don't know how you're gonna take it, but it's a big deal for me for you to hop on here and join me for a conversation. So it means the world to me. Can't thank you enough.
No, thank you guys. I got to share camp with you a couple times, and
Yeah.
of course, Ben and I have been friends, and Ben's been friends with us at Bone Collectors for a long, long time. We've got to hunt up there with you guys several different times in the past, and of course, Ben's a long time, uh, uh, I guess, just like us, been in the industry a long, long time. So no, but glad to. That's one thing about me, Michael and Nick. We very, very, very seldom turn down a podcast, radio interview, or anything like that. Man, it's our pleasure. We love it.
Yeah, I've listened to you on so many podcasts, and it's so cool of you that you're so willing to hop on and share your story, what's going on in T-Bone's life. I mean, you're such a impactful character in this industry and to so many young guys. So, for me, it's like I feel like I know you, like, I've been around you a few times and stuff, but
Mhm.
for me, watching you all these years, I feel like I know you, Nick, and Michael, like you're part of the family, because, it's just like I guess with any any personality in any industry that you watch, you grow up watching, you feel like you know them so much better than you really do. But one thing I can say about you is that you've always been very genuine, and you are who you see, on these programs and stuff like that. So yeah, it's really awesome to have you, man, and I look forward to this conversation here that we're going to have today.
Yeah, we're like me, Michael, and Nick are like the uncles that are always going to embarrass the family name at the family get together.
Yeah. Well, how are all the boys?
They're good, actually. With what I've been going through for the past year, of course, my hunting has been limited to just right here in Georgia. Still not able to travel, or having some mobility issues, but I'm able to hunt here at the house. And me personally, I've you always have hit listers on your farms and stuff here, and this year it just seems like the neighbors have the neighbors have been having a good year. Let's put it that way. Three of my hit listers the neighbors have gotten, and then just 2 mornings ago, one of them another one got hit by a car. So
Uh,
we're down to we've got a we got one or two that are pretty decent that we're still chasing, and then of course we got a few cull bucks that we'll probably end up taking out before the end of the year. So we're still getting to hunt some, and and doing the challenges of mobility. But I
yeah.
just got word last Friday that my prosthetic leg got approved insurance
Awesome.
wise finally. So
Dude,
hopefully we'll get that put on, and then that'll help move things down the road.
that's been a battle, hasn't it? For some
Yeah,
time.
unbelievable, unbelievable. Meaning, the people in the rehab back when I was in rehab, when I say rehab, not like alcohol or drug abuse, but rehabilitation of how to handle life with missing one leg. That's mandatory when you leave the hospital after an amputation. They teach you how to do that. I was in there for 10 days, and they teach you about just simple day-to-day life, how to handle those things. But they told me, they said that insurance won't pay for a wheelchair as well as the prosthetic leg. And they said, so if you will, they advised that me pay for the wheelchair. So I bought myself electric wheelchair. I bought the regular wheelchair, all the things I needed to change my house out, rebuilt the shower, handicap railings, in the places that we needed them in the house, widening some doors that we needed, those kind of things. I did all that out of pocket, thinking that, whenever I hit them with the bill for the
Right.
prosthetic leg, that it would be, taken care of. Well, we've been battling this since May, and they just have now approved it. So
That's
It's
unbelievable.
been extremely frustrating, but
Yeah.
so hopefully, even when I get the leg, I still have to rehab on it and learn it, but at least it'll help me a little bit more mobility. My kind of number one goal is like the things that I miss the most. I mean, a lot of people, are, naturally, I would like to hunt a little more proficiently than what I am now, but that is not even in the top 5 of things I want to do. Like my number one thing is I own a skid steer. I bought one about 4 or 5 years ago. I want to get back in my skid steer. I love that. The skid steer, tractor, zero turn lawnmower. Those
Yeah.
are like my top 3 things. And then of course, just being able to get up a few steps to go visit people, go to their house. And, I can't even go to Waddell's house and, have dinner with him or anything like that just because can't get in the house. We have to eat on the carport like a dog.
Well, I mean, dude, what an adjustment for your life, because I
Yep.
mean, you take for granted, I mean, the simple things, the little things
Yes.
that you can do, and all of a sudden, it's a couple more steps just to
Yep.
get this one thing done, so I can
Yep.
only imagine like the adjustment in your life has just probably been turned upside down.
Yeah. Yeah. But, I always, I mean, there has been some days where my lips been poked out, but for the most part, I try to have the mentality of, anytime you battle cancer, period, you're like, well, it could be worse. No matter how bad I've got it, there's other people out there a whole lot worse than me, So I'm blessed. I could be pushing up daisies right now. So
Sure.
that's a blessing. So I guess God wanted me to stay around a little while longer and aggravate some folks. So
Yeah.
I'm
I
here.
think I just read last night, reading the word, and it said something. I don't quote me verbatim here, but without some hardships, there's going to be some hardships to get into the kingdom of God, and
Yep.
you have such a platform here, probably to help so many people, and just your story alone is inspiring. And whether you have cancer and you lose a leg, or it could be something a lot more minor, a lot more major, I think the way you're coping with it and handling it is inspiring. And like I said, it doesn't even have to be a health problem, but it's like, man, my dog got hit on the road today, but T-Bone lost a leg, and he's still kicking, and
Yeah.
everything's good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the hurdles that we have make us stronger, as so to speak. This past weekend they have a handicap hunt here in the county that I live in, and when I've been in town for the last 10 or 12 years, I've got to go over there and fellowship with the guys and or volunteer. And it's kind of funny this year. They saved me a spot when they found out I lost my leg, so I got to be on the hunt with them. So we filmed all that. It's in a park. It's in a park. It's Holiday Park. They shut the park down and they need to thin the deer, so they have a handicap hunt there. And it makes it good because everybody can roll around on the pavement throughout
Right.
the park.
That's
And
cool.
you draw areas. I didn't actually get one this time just because I mean, we seen deer, but the direction that I could shoot, we didn't have no deer there. We had deer like to our right where we couldn't shoot. They were all around us, but we couldn't shoot them. But it wasn't about me. It was about, us celebrating the guys that were there. And we ended up taking, as a group, 11 deer and, one pretty nice 8-pointer. So yeah,
Sweet.
it was a fun time. I told all those guys, a lot of them come back year after year. I said, I've been down here in fellowshipping with you guys. I said, it looked like y'all had so much fun. I decided to lop my leg off and join you guys this year. So, anyway, we had a good time with that this past weekend. So,
Yeah,
but
that's
yeah,
awesome.
we're going out this afternoon. We got a cull buck we call Flock of Seagulls. So hopefully we'll get to see him and put him down right here on our place.
Cool. Well, you shot a doe recently.
Yeah, I did.
What
And we could have shot a few more, but we shot the old doe and put some meat in the freezer, and we've just been trying to keep things low pressure and try to get one of these bucks to slip up, but
is
hopefully.
that is that the first deer that you've killed since everything?
Yeah, it is. Last year when I was going through chemo and everything, I killed one buck last year, and I wasn't able to travel because I started chemo in October, and it beat me down pretty good all the way up till about the first part of February. So yeah, I was weak as dishwater, man. I'm telling you, it was bad. But
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway, you know,
Well, was it last year? Because time just escapes you, everything moves so fast. But was it last year that you had your big year or the year before?
it was the year before. It was 2020. Last year, like I said, I didn't get to travel at all,
Yeah.
and do any hunts. Actually, the last traveling I did was I really shouldn't have traveled. We had our Brotherhood bash up in Kentucky, and I went to that, and I had huge tumors on my leg. It was really rough. I was supposed to stay and hunt, but and at that time I didn't even tell Michael and Nick that I had cancer that yet. I just didn't want to be a Debbie Downer at our bash, and
Right.
I didn't even let them know till closer to Thanksgiving. I wanted them to get through their Midwest run, and
Mm.
I just told them they knew I had a big spot on my leg, but they didn't know that it was cancer yet. But I'd already started chemo and stuff, and I let them know just before Thanksgiving, so I didn't want everybody to be all gloom and doom.
Right.
But yeah, I didn't get to hunt it all last year, except for just around here, and then I don't think I hunted at all. I killed that buck on October 17th of last year, and I didn't hunt again the rest of the year. But yeah, the year before is when I mean, absolutely. I mean, the
Amazing.
way things went last year, I guess you'd think I made the deal with the devil on 2020 because I had a really, really, I mean, just a phenomenal, unbelievable year in 2020. So, yeah, that may never be produced by me again. But yeah, super blessed.
Yeah, man, that year was insane. You were knocking them down. You killed
Gosh,
some giants, man.
yeah. I had two right here at the house, and a 186, a 161 right here in Georgia, right on my 100-acre farm right here at my house. And then I killed my largest with a bow in Kansas, a 186. So,
Wow.
I mean, a 183 in Kansas. But yeah, yeah, phenomenal,
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Yeah, that's super awesome.
Almost like a Ben Rising type of year.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Ben's struggling a little bit this year.
No, he's not. He's not. He's just normal this year.
Yeah, I know. Well,
Yeah,
that's struggling for Mr.
yeah,
Rising.
yeah,
Yeah. We one thing I really wanted to talk with you about, and I know I had texted you last night about it,
yeah,
was the G5 Mega Meet, which
yes,
Ben and I are huge fans of, the whole Whitetail Edge team. Um, just a lethal head. I mean, the holes that we're seeing and the blood trails that we're seeing, it's hard to argue using anything else, sponsor or not. The G5 Mega Meet is legit. And from what I talked with you about was, you kind of had a hand in designing that head. Is that correct?
yeah. Yeah, I don't want to say, by no means I don't want to take anything away from G5, Nate, Matt, all the guys over there, Mr. Grace, they're all just absolutely Nate is the mastermind behind the whole thing. He's really the engineer, the mastermind. I mean, to say that, I had some consulting and or bounce some ideas, off of me, and me and Nate had some brainstorming sessions and stuff like that. I mean, if that puts you in the category of helping design, then yeah, I did. But by no means am I don't want to take anything away from them. They're the whole creators behind it. But yeah, I did have some brainstorming over years and years and years. I mean, it took us a while to get to that point on the mega meet. And then of course you got the little brother, which was the dead meat, and then you've got the T3 before that, which started it all. And then all we've done is just each year just kind of improved on that to get to this design of the mega meat. But yeah, I'm pretty proud of it I kind of approach things, design wise and or making things work wise, from a pro and con type of, an approach. You said it, you had mentioned that, it's a lethal head to shoot, and it's kind of the only head you should shoot. For most, I'd like to clarify that a little bit by saying that for most applications, and I say that because G5 makes a broadhead for every application, whether it's the Montec, the G, the striker, the dead meat, all the way through the line. There, it's an all steel lineup. But for the lady that's only pulling 45 pounds, the mega meat would not be the best choice by no means.
Yeah.
But when you say, and what I mean too is the mega meat is for the soup and potatoes of the most, everybody, the guy that's pulling 65 to 70, 75 pounds, that's shooting a a decently sized arrow that's got a draw length of 27 to 31. Yes, the meat and potatoes of the line of the people drawing a bow. Yes, it is excellent for that, especially for shooting stuff whitetail size and or stuff across North America. Cape Buffalo, no, I probably wouldn't recommend it, but for most all the applications that we would have for the average hunter, absolutely, it's a phenomenal head. And I'll go ahead and say this too, not to, I don't want this to be just like we're raising it up, even though we think so highly of the mega meat, and we can break it down as to the designs of it, as to why. I meant to go downstairs and get one so that we could probably talk and hold one up, but I didn't do so. But
I have one. Hold on one
yeah.
second.
Yep. So I was going to say too, before we deep dive into this, is at the end of the day, most all broadheads, of course, we're partial to G5 just because of, the design, the tight tolerances, the innovativeness, that they have. I am kind of partial to them, or we are partial to them. But at the end of the day, it's accuracy is always going to win. There's a lot of broadheads out there that are extremely good. You just got to put it in the right place. But like I say, when we're breaking these things down, all the pros and cons, the pros and cons of them, I think you'll see after we have a conversation, and or if you go back and see some of the stuff we've talked about, and or the footage and such that G5 has, as well as the results of thousands and thousands of hunters over the last couple of years, you'll see that this one's going to check off a whole lot more pros than it does any cons at all. So yeah, I'm really proud of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you should be. I mean, like I said, I mean, I guess I just want to dive in because you're so technical with archery equipment. That's your bread and butter. That's what T-Bone does. So what makes this head? Because literally, I've never had such great success with a broadhead before. I mean, the holes are giant. The
Yeah.
blood trails are devastating. I mean, you're going to see stuff wrapped around trees. I mean, it looks like a horror movie every time.
Yeah.
What makes this head, what it is, I guess.
Well, there's several things. It all started back, how we had that commercial, which was a little bit on the funny side by saying, do you want a sliver? Because a lot of broadhead manufacturers were, the way we kill deer is massive hemorrhage, blood loss. And in doing so, we was, the mindset was, some 8, 9, 10 years ago when mechanical broadheads were getting more popular, was that we want a bigger cut, bigger cut, bigger cut. Well, the way they were doing that was they was forcing the blades to be out like this to where they chopped and so that it would get a 2-inch a cut, a hole, but it was end up being a slice. So you got two independent blades that have the surface area of the blade. So the longer surface area you have means more area there is to do slicing, just like a long fillet knife. You're
Mm-hmm.
not gonna take your granddad's old Barlow that's got a 2-inch knife and you're not gonna fillet a fish with that. You want it to be a long fillet style knife, where the blade angle is like this. Well, you have 2 inches, and those two bladed broadheads, no matter what brand they are, they do well, and they've done well for a lot of people, but it ends up being a slice. So it depends on if it goes this way, then you're going through ribs, and you could potentially bust down the structural integrity of the blades by going this way, and or if one blade fails, then you only got one left.
Right.
And then also, if it goes this way, it ends up being a slice. So you get pretty good blood loss on the inside, but a lot of times it doesn't spill out onto the ground, allowing you to have good blood trails. So there's a con there.
Yeah.
The advantages to the 3-blade design, I've always been a fan of 3-blade, is one, just because of aerodynamics with most all, it seems like it's a trend, people shooting 4 blades these days. I'm not a big fan of it. I'm not saying it's negative. It's just I don't see the, again, pros and cons. I don't see the pros to shooting for fletchings, but the the three blades lines up with the three blades of the broadhead, not to mention you're gaining a whole extra 33% more cutting off of this other blade. And because of you're getting the extra blade, no longer do you have to have steep angled blades like this. You can have three blades that's angled like this and still have a 2-inch circle. So you have three independent blades, which has a long, it's going to penetrate better because it's in a less than a 45-degree angle. So it's slicing instead of chopping.
Mm.
And then it's going to fillet, so it has more massive hemorrhaging. It penetrates better. You got 33% because you got a whole extra blade. So, you know, right there, I just checked off better penetration, more slicing, more massive hemorrhaging. And then when it comes to the size of the hole, which you had alluded to, you've got a hole this big that has 3 independent flaps that the blood has to spill out, no matter where you hit the animal. Plus, it's made of all steel, so therefore, structural integrity is going to be, you know, pretty dadgum strong. I mean, you know, I'm not going to say that there's nothing that's bulletproof, but
You
it's
might
way
have some
better than
bent
an all aluminum.
blades, but
Yeah,
I'll take a bent blade
absolutely,
over
or
it.
even a broke blade.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I've still got 2 blades, you know,
Yeah.
and I gladly, you know, I gladly would give up a broadhead for a kill, you know, one broadhead for a kill. But even so, the ferrule is usually still always straight. You just have to replace the blades, but nonetheless, it did its job, you know. And
Mhm.
it's so many people, a lot of controversy and or chit chatter is always about, like, if you're shooting at a deer, and you know, let's just say you're shooting at the vitals, or a, you know, the liver size, a 8-inch, you know, like a pie plate. Well, absolutely. On one side, let's just say this side over here is where the shoulder and the leg bone is. And
Okay.
everybody's like, oh man, I fear that shoulder. Yeah, you don't want to hit that shoulder. Well, honestly, I mean, if you hit that shoulder, you've got problems no matter what broadhead. You know, I mean, granted, we all know that a single bevel broadhead wood has the best chance of going through that, but there's not a lot of vitals around that anyway. So if you hit there, you're messed up. You've messed up more than likely anyway.
Mhm.
Right? Nobody talks about, you know, and we're shooting at a live animal, so it's moving around. Don't get me wrong. Accuracy always is going to win. So you want the most accurate arrow and broadhead combination that you possibly can. If we always hit perfect, no matter what you shoot through there, you could probably get away with killing deer with field point. However,
Yep.
the deer ducking, diving, moving, changing angles, there's all kinds of human factors. You get a little buck fever, you shoot a little, you know, oh, I got a little herky jerky, I shoot off. But not too many people talk about the screwing up and hitting back here in the guts. They talk
Mhm.
about hitting this like, oh my God, I don't want to hit the shoulder. I don't want to hit the shoulder. Well, you fear hitting that shoulder so bad. How many deer get shot in the guts? A lot.
Yeah. Probably just
Well,
as many as the shoulder.
exactly. 50-50.
Yeah.
50-50.
Probably, arguably, probably more in the guts. I mean, it's bigger.
Exactly. So with that said, I would rather know that I had a huge 2-inch 3-blade hole that I know is going through the guts, that is going to kill that deer faster and more humanely,
Mhm.
than to worry about, I want a small 1-inch single bevel blade broadhead that's going to go through the shoulder. Now we're talking whitetail deer. We're
Yeah.
talking, again, the meat and potatoes of 70-pound, 29-inch draw, the meat and potatoes of most everybody. There are different scenarios for every draw length, every poundage, what animal you're shooting. But for the most part, we're here on Whitetail Edge. I want to talk about
Yep.
mainly whitetails and or North American critters.
That's right.
Dr. Ashby, I'm a huge fan of. I'm a friend of his. We've talked, the Ashby Foundation, that gets talked about a lot. Heavier, higher FOC absolutely does penetrate better. But here on the North American continent, we're not shooting Cape Buffalo like Dr. Ashby did so many of his studies. We're not trying to go through 2x4 size bones and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So we want a sturdy structural integrity, strong broadhead with all the goods that we're talking about, you know. And now I get to the point of accuracy. So accuracy, years ago, as bows became more efficient, we're getting faster and faster and faster. Well, all we had was fixed blade broadheads. Well, when you shoot a fixed blade broadhead, well, because you shoot your field points all summer long and you're shooting good and accurate, you screw your fixed blade broadheads on there. Now I'm speaking 15, 20 years ago,
Mhm.
or even more. Then all of a sudden your groups open up. your accuracy's not there just because you've changed the aerodynamics of the arrow that you're shooting. And if it's a light arrow and it has very little FOC, then it's going to be even more radical because it magnifies the flaws in our form. So everybody goes nuts of, man, I can't shoot my effective range. I was good to 40 with my field points, and now I can't even hit a pie plate at 20 yards. So your confidence level of practicing all summer long, it just goes like
Yeah.
you don't have confidence on hitting a deer at all. And again, I want to allude to accuracy always wins. Over all this, accuracy wins. And we can always get more accurate. I don't care how good you are.
Yeah.
So with that said, when mechanicals came out, bows were fast. That's why they became so popular, is because it's it's aerodynamic. If you hold that broadhead up for the camera and point it at the camera, like you was shooting me, you can see how tight that is. You can see how aerodynamic it is and how tight to the arrow it is, so that we're looking at a 3-blade broadhead that when it gets to the critter is going to be 2 inches, whereas right now it's really tight to it. So it's not going to change the way the arrow flies. And if you'll couple that with a heavy arrow and or put some good FOC in the front, well, then it's going to make it that much more forgiving. So that's why mechanicals became so popular, and that's why we wanted that, to keep your accuracy. So not everybody shoots hogs under a feeder at 20 yards. We as whitetail hunters, you may have to shoot a buck at 35 yards. I hope I never have to shoot another one at past 25. However, if it helps my effective range get out to 35 or 40, and or shoot an elk at 55 or 60, then I'm all for it. It keeps my accuracy, and then when the arrow gets there, it's going to deploy. It's all steel, and I'm going to have a 3-blade 2-inch cut with the blade angle that is a slice rather than a chop. So, I hope the tidbits that we're talking about, we're getting a little bit of pros, and that's why I believe this I mean, there's a lot of good broadheads, but this is why, and it makes me, like, I have so much confidence in it. 2.5 years ago, when we were coming to market with it, I was like, I can't wait. I can't wait. And it does me good to see so many posts through social media and so many people having such great success with it. Because it's almost like, man, this is the proving grounds right here. This is proof in the pudding that these things are work, and all of our mad scientists, thinking and drawing plans, and all the 3D prototypes that Nate built and stuff, that it's all coming together. You have the dead meat, which is the little brother to the
I
mega
haven't shot that head.
and virtually it's the same thing. It's just the 1.5-inch cut, so therefore it's going to allow you better penetration, and it's a little tighter on aerodynamics. So the popular of mechanicals are so popular because they're accurate, and when you get there, they're devastating when if you naturally put it where it needs to be.
Yeah. Well, I screwed that mega meat in for the first time, and I haven't looked back. So
Yeah.
I haven't found any reason to screw anything else in my arrow, but
to go back, I was wanting to add to that. I'm sorry, man.
no, you're good, man.
I get on
Go
a
for it.
tangent, man. I get all excited and stuff. So you go back talking about fixed blade broadheads. Some of the things that we had to do to make your fixed blade broadheads before the invention or before the insert of mechanical broadheads is what we had to do is we'd have to tune those broadheads, and you still can do that to this day. So many people, instead of, like bow manufacturers say, this bow shoots 350 foot a second, this one shoots 340. The average Billy Joe lunch bucket, in his head, he thinks, I want my bow to shoot 340. They're saying it shoots 340. Why shouldn't I shoot 340? I personally wish that the archery industry would change that, because it's kind of all false advertising. It's not saying that bow won't shoot that, but the way they're measuring it, it's like a car. How fast does a car go 0 to 60? They should change those measurements, because what they're doing is they're telling people that this bow at a 350 grain arrow, 30-inch draw, which is way above normal, on 70 pounds, which most people shoot less than 70 pounds. Most people are less than 30-inch draw. So, and a 350 grain arrow, which hardly anybody shoots an arrow less than 400 grains. Most people are, I would like to think, are 450 to 550. That's a great weight of arrow for whitetail hunting. Well, I want more normal numbers. Let's come up with a different one, like a 500 grain arrow, 29-inch draw, and say 70 pounds. And this is the speed of all bows.
Right.
Because what happens is it impregnates the guy that goes shopping for bows, and he sees this tag on the bow at the bow shop and it says 350 foot a second. Well, then the guy behind the counter at the bow shop, he builds him an arrow, a good hunting arrow, a 480 grain arrow. You got 14, 15 uh, uh, percentage of FOC, and you got a good broadhead on there, and you pop it through the meter and it's only going 278. Well, that guy just spent $2,000 to walk out of there like, man, my bow's 70 feet per second slower than what they said it would do. He doesn't understand all that, and
Right.
and we as a, I don't want to say elite, but we as seasoned archers and or shop owners don't need to explain that. We shouldn't have to explain that. It's like you're deselling the bow. You
Mhm.
should, the bow should live up to what they're advertising. I say all that to get you to this point. Whereas when the speeds got higher, everybody wanted to shoot that with their hunting setup. Well, you try to get I don't care who you are, you try to get a broadhead to fly above like 270 feet per second, a fixed blade broadhead that's got like an inch and a quarter, inch and 3/16, inch and a half inch cut. And it can be a tough task. And we quickly found out, this is some years ago, that if that broadhead is not perfectly aligned down the center of the shaft, meaning we've all done this. It's like the night before deer season, you screwing all your broadheads on. And I'm thinking, I'm 15, 20 years ago, and you spin it and it just wobbles like crazy because it's a fixed blade broadhead. It's because that broadhead is not perfectly aligned with the shaft. So the guy that doesn't know better, he thinks he thinks that either my broadhead's crooked, my arrow's crooked. He doesn't really rightly know. Well, if that broadhead is off just a little bit, it's about like the nose cone on an airplane. When you send it down range going 300 foot a second, and this broadhead that has wings and is like an extra set of fletchings that's on the front of the arrow, and it goes, it's the leading edge, it's going to cause that arrow to dip and dive. That's why your broadhead groups open up.
Mhm.
So it's really important, like you've seen people spin test their arrows when we got these spinners and straighteners that you put them on and you can see that it's out, but you have no way to correct it. Well, years ago, I took it's a ABA knock tuner that I turned into a broadhead tuner. So long before mechanicals, we were taking fixed blade broadheads, sticking them into this with a dial indicator on top of it, and we were actually straightening it. Now, I'm not saying that it's a broadhead problem or insert problem or an arrow problem, but between the ferrule of the broadhead, the insert of the broadhead being, off because you've got a 15-cent broadhead holding all that together,
Right.
and the shaft and the glue tolerances of you gluing that insert in there, it causes that to not be straight. Well, we can actually straighten it with that ABBA straightener. Well, I've had this design, but I've mentioned it to broadhead manufacturers over the last 20 years about my idea, and nobody wanted to tackle it from a broadhead standpoint because if like if they came out with this broadhead tuner, it would make their whatever company it is make their broadhead. It's all broadheads. It ain't nobody's fault. No, all broadheads are that way as far as the tolerances. It would make them as a broadhead company make it look like they brought out a superior, an inferior broadhead, and that you have to straighten it.
Mhm.
Well, I partnered with, and I'm good friends with the guys at Last Chance Archery, which they, they build the presses and everything like that. Well, we built this. It's called a rat. We call it a rat, but it's called Revolutionary Arrow Tuner.
I think
It's a
I've heard you
broad.
talk about this before.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we just came out with this in January. But and I know it sounds like a sales plug, but I'm not really selling plug. I'm just wanting to know that the guys that are diehard fixed blade broadhead shooters, you can now tune that. Even if you want to take it to the frog hair cutting line, and you could tune your mechanical. So it does any 3, 4, 5, 6 blade broadhead. 2 blades are a struggle. We've got an adapter coming out for that in the future, but for 2 blade broadhead, but it makes it to where you can align that to where you have perfect right down the center so that your aerodynamics is correct. Everybody assumes that tuning a broadhead means aligning the blades up with your vanes. That is not tuning. That is indexing. That's just making sure that every one of your arrows is a clone. And
Mhm.
then tuning is actually when you're aligning the perfect dead center point of the broadhead through the ferrule, through the insert, all the way up the shaft is perfectly straight, or what we call acceptable under 2000s, which is really, really tight tolerances. So I'm proud of that for the guys that are shooting the fixed blade. But I say all that is, man, it was wearing on me. I mean, this was 15 years ago. I was like, gosh, this is so old, man. It built my confidence. I was shooting 3D tournaments all year long, feeling like I had the utmost confidence. Here it is, August. Let's screw some broadheads on there. And then you shoot, and then your broadheads would open up, your groups would open up. I'd tune the broadheads. I'd cut that in half easily, which was helped confidence wise. But I was like, these just don't shoot as accurate as my field points. Then when mechanicals came along, you wouldn't have to do the tuning of the broadheads nowhere near as much, because like you showed a minute ago, the broadhead is exactly, aerodynamic, or extremely tight aerodynamic. So again, that's another pro positive for the mega meat, the dead meat style of broadhead. It's aerodynamic. Your accuracy stays there. Then when it gets there, and I know I sound like a broken record, but when it gets there and deploys, the blades they slide into place. I'm just a fan of rear deploying blades, not the ones that go in and have to fold back over themselves. That design causes deterrence in the path of the arrow. You lose energy quite a lot by doing so. I'm not saying that people don't have success with them. They do, but you're going to have way more failures with that type of broadhead than you would with those that are rear deploying. And another thing that I posted a video back in the summer or September. Let's just, if you're on the fence of trying this, let's just say that those blades on a mega meat were welded shut, that you super glued them, and there's no way that they're going to open, which is not, it can't not open. But the blades are exposed. It is just a really tight, small fixed blade broadhead. I mean, 100%, you're seeing every bit of the blade. So even if that was welded shut, you would still get your critter. It just wouldn't be a 2-inch hole. It would be a smaller hole, but you're doing damage and you're cutting just like that. I mean, that blade that outside edge is sharp, and it's cutting like crazy. So
yeah, I've bled a lot this year.
I know and then you take it to another level. The new Dead Meat V2, those have the Lutz blades, and those are extreme. Not that the Mega Meats aren't sharp, but the Lutz blades is a new level of sharpness, almost like the Striker. It has those German Lutz blades. And it's a country little redneck saying, we say those blades are so sharp they'll cut you before God gets the news. So yeah, I'm just proud of the whole lineup, but certainly with that mega meat, because we're answering, I guess from my tournament background, I'm just so happy about accuracy, and I realize that so many people are not going to take the time to tune their bow to the level that a lot of guys that are running the archery shops, and they're not going to take that time. Whereas this will make the guy that wants to run by Walmart or Bass Pro Shops or Cabela's or their local archery shop, pick up a set of blades, and they're still going to be able to shoot very accurate, and and get their critter, as long as they put it in through the vitals at some place. So
well, I'll be completely honest. I mean, you're such a scientist, and you have fine-tuned this craft to a whole other level. And honestly, it kind of I feel a little bit belittled. Not like personally, I don't feel like I'm saying, like, I almost feel ashamed that I don't know a little bit more about all this than I feel like I should, because I mean, as a hunter going out there and trying to be ethical and all that, like, I should probably brush up a little bit on this. And I do want to learn, to work on my boat, but we have such a dependable pro shop where I live, where it kind of makes me lazy, where I can drop everything off. I can go there, they can go through the process with me, and I'm good, to where I don't have to learn all this. But I do want to make it a point to learn. What would be something that you recommend where someone like me were to start kind of just tinkering around, I guess?
Yeah, I would highly recommend people. One thing is,
or not to cut you off, T-Bone, I'm sorry, but or if there's something that is on YouTube or something that you've seen, or a certain personality or something that you would recommend, I guess.
Well, a reputable pro shop is going to be the best place, meaning like it's more than just watching one YouTube video. YouTube can be great. However, you got to be so open-minded on that. You can't think that everything that you see on there is the gospel.
Right. Yeah.
Absorb what you're hearing, but have, stand on your own 2 feet, and have a good, good common sense thought on it. Just don't be a sheep and follow exactly what you see. Even
Right.
the stuff that I'm saying, I hope that I kind of lay it out there to where it's absorbable, and I weigh out the pros and cons and let the person make their decision on their on their own. Like you can read a lot about the stuff Dr. Ashby, that's the Ashby Foundation gives you the extreme, and basically they break it down physics wise as to what is the best penetrating. Now, basically they're getting it to a point where it's a spear. Does that mean that, if you're shooting a 700 grain arrow, will you get good penetration on a whitetail? Absolutely you will.
Mhm.
However, the things that you're giving up a lot on that 700 grain arrow is your bow is not, it'll be quiet for sure, but it'll be super slow. Your pin gap will open up quite a bit. Your effective range, for the guy, especially out west, that may need to take that 40 or 50, 60-yard shot. I'm not going to tell you that you're going to outrun a deer by speed. You just can't do that because the noise level will go up. I mean, there's so many things that the reaction time of a deer, you can't control that. But what you can control is accuracy. Is because as soon as you cut the arrow loose, the burden is off of you, period. You can't do nothing about that. You need to prepare yourself instead of spending so much time on the internet or so much time buying all these things. If people would spend more time behind the bow so that they're a more proficient killer and work on themselves, that is be what I'd recommend, as well as hang out, like to get back to your question, is to hang out in archery shops, reputable archery shops, because those guys, like you said, I've been fortunate. This is my passion, and I've been lucky enough to make this passion my career. So for the last 30 years, just about from me owning my own shop to working in a shop to, just doing this on my own, I spend so much time just thinking of these scenarios and talking to the right people and having these conversations. I can't help but absorb some of this stuff and learn from my mistakes from being, older, like I am. So you absorb these things. So I can't expect a guy that works a regular 9 to 5 or in an office or something like that. He's got to focus on his job. He's got to focus on his family. Whereas you'd like to think that you could rely on, like you said, dropping your bow off at
Mhm.
the archery shop. And I bleed for the independent retailer because they are proficient in that. And that is good to know that. I mean, it's no different than, like when the guy comes to pump my septic tank, I'm like, man, I should know more about pumping my septic tank than what I do. Well, no, I shouldn't. I mean, you can't be thinking about that. You pursue what's your passion. And, folks that work 9 to 5s and have families, they get 1, maybe 2 days a week to hunt, and
Mhm.
they want to enjoy it, and they want to know that their stuff's right. So they're relying on folks like me and or the independent retailer and or qualified people on the YouTube to
Right.
point them in the right direction, and companies to do the right thing. So we hope that we're putting out good content and or good knowledge to help someone make the right decisions for themselves, not necessarily you got to shoot this broadhead or you suck.
Yeah.
We don't want that. We want people to know that there's a lot of thought process behind this, and there's some good points that are made, and these are the reasons why. And
Mhm.
I am very passionate about that, and that I'm so proud of that broadhead. So I would tell people to, absolutely, you need to look at things on the internet, but don't believe everything, and consider where the information's coming from, and or see, proofs in the pudding is like, the video that Ben posted the other day, as well as some of the stuff you've posted, and myself, and others that have had success with it. I mean,
Nick posted a good video too the other day.
yeah, exactly. That's what I was talking about. The Ben's
Mhm.
that big hole that he posted, and you can just Ben oozes sincerity on the passion of why he feels that way about that. And I mean, I gather to say, Ben's is probably as good a whitetail hunter as there is in North America. And I mean, I know that he wouldn't say that if he didn't mean it. And
Yeah.
Waddell feels the same way. Nick feels the same way. The Heartland Bowhunter guys, they're using them this year. And I've had a bunch of conversations with them behind the scenes, and you know, and then not just TV personalities or you know, folks that you may see on YouTube and stuff. I mean, just countless of, you couldn't believe all the pictures. I wished I could had the time to do a montage of all the DMs and pictures that people have sent me of, you know, how happy they are with those broadheads. And that doesn't mean that there's not good broadheads out there and
Right.
people haven't done good, but you know, like we said from the word go, if you're checking off the pros and cons, I mean, there's very few cons, if any cons, with this broadhead.
Right. Well, I mean, on the social medias, you see it all the time. It doesn't matter what you post, you're always going to get the negativity.
Oh yeah.
On that particular video that you were talking about with Ben, maybe only 2 comments of negativity. The rest
Yeah.
were all like, dude, I gave it a try and I'll never go back. I mean, just so many really powerful testimonies about that head all around on the internet. Like I said, you know, it's just so easy to see the naysayers, the negative comments. Everyone's always got an opinion. But the majority opinion about this head is people are extremely happy about it.
Yeah.
Great
Yeah.
results.
Yeah. And I wanted to make sure that we, you know, from the stance of the mega meat is recommended. Again, I mean, it's almost like a disclaimer. I don't want, you know, and I know you feel this way as well as I do, and Ben would say the same thing. It's not recommended for everybody. I mean, we're talking the meat of the potatoes.
Hmm.
You know, I always try to say at least like 60 pounds.
Hmm.
You know, in your average draw length from, you know, 27 to 31. You know, and if you're pulling from, you know, 60 pounds to, you might be able to get away with the, you know, upper 50s, but I would consider if I was pulling less than 60 pounds, I'd probably go with that dead meat,
Hmm.
just, you know, to ensure, you know, better penetration. Make sure you have the, you know, good weighted arrow, you know, something, in my opinion, 450 to 550,
Hmm.
and then try to keep your FOC in that, you know, 13 to, you know, upwards of 13 to 18 for sure. But if you wanted to tinker around with a good stiff arrow and get you 20% FOC, that wouldn't hurt you one bit. It's just so forgiving in the wind as far as absorbing your flaws in your form and stuff like that. This is what we're talking about. This is the person. We're not saying, hey, go buy your girlfriend a pack of mega meats that's shooting 42 pounds, or your 12-year-old son that's, you know, pulling 35 pounds. A mega meat is not for them. You know, then you need to consider something like that striker, the 3-blade striker, or the Montec, which is, you know, it's funny. We talk about it when we were at the ATA show with all the Graces. The Montec is a broadhead that is so tough as a fixed blade broadhead. You can continually sharpen it because, you know, it's not a replaceable blade. You sharpen the blades, and they've had some granddads that have handed them down to their kids. You know, like, hey, I've killed 6 or 7, you know, deers over the last year. So here's this broadhead. Let it, you know, it's like a family heirloom is the Montec broadhead. So it's
That's
got,
kind of cool.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
that's
we've made
cool.
a joke about that, but yeah, I just want to be clear on that. I don't
Right.
want to come on here and people to take the takeaway is like, well, T-Bone said shoot the mega meat no matter what. No, no, no. I mean, it's for the most. It's for the, you know, 85-90% of the archers out there.
Hmm.
However, there are some instances and there are some game that you're going to be hunting that probably wouldn't recommend it for. But that's the good thing, you know, G5's got you covered from soup to nuts with the Montec, the dead meat, the mega meat, striker, all of those ones. Their lineup is great for anything.
It is hell on turkeys too.
Oh, yeah, the mega meat's good for that too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I shot one the year before last, picked it up by its feet, man. It was just like a slushy.
yeah,
It was
exactly.
insane.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. You know, with turkey season coming up in the spring, you know, a turkey is so well. First of all, me being an archer guy, I'll be the first to tell you turkey was designed to be shot with a shotgun first and foremost. But if you do want to bow hunt one,
Hmm.
they're so three-dimensional. It's like shooting a hefty sack, and then their vitals are so small, you know, like a softball. So it's kind of hard to pinpoint that. Whereas, you know, if you are going for the you know, the vitals, it's nice to know you got a 2-inch cut blowing
Right.
through there, and it's going to grab something that's going to put him down quick.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it was just something I, wanted to try a little bit, but it's
Yeah.
probably definitely something that you should study those vitals on them turkeys. But
Yep.
yeah, it was fun and putting those G5s to the test on a turkey, but it's always fun to just blast one in the face.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Shotgun. But
That's awesome. I see you
Yeah.
got a Austin Riley jersey back there.
Yeah, man.
Yep.
I'm a big Riley fan.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yep. Awesome. Yeah, he's a good dude. He's a
Yeah. It's like Chipper reincarnated.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, and I'm glad they signed that big contract for him. So hopefully he'll be a franchise player for Braves.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm kind of wondering what's gonna happen with Dansby this year
Yeah, I know.
and whatnot. But that that GM they got, he kind of seems like he knows what he's doing. But speaking of
Yeah,
Chipper, do you see that deer he just killed in Kansas?
yeah, yeah. Great deer.
Giant.
They're
Big
on a
deer.
fantastic spot out there.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But yeah, I don't want to take too much of your time.
Man, you're fine. I
Stephen.
could talk about this all the time. So yeah, just
I know. I mean, dude, it's just so obvious, like just how passionate you are about it, and it's not fake. Just with the detail and stuff like that. I guess that's when you become really great at something, is when you're this passionate about it, and it radiates off of you.
well, I've been fortunate enough to make a. I mean, don't get me wrong. I just archery. I took to archery. So I mean, I don't want to come across as arrogant. I'm just so blessed and to make a living in this space and outdoor industry and get to tell deer stories and work with great companies and been doing it for 30 plus years. It's just awesome. I am passionate about it. And I started, I didn't have two nickels to rub together working in a shop, and the guys from Realtree started coming to my shop, and I'm like, I'm never going to get to go to the Midwest hunting. I'm just sitting here turning wrenches, and I get to go shoot tournaments across the country, but I'm not going to get to hunt like the guys on Realtree and stuff. But it made me feel so good that I was setting up their bows, and
Oh
they were
yeah.
going to kill stuff. I can remember when, long before cell phones was even here, David Blanton would, and he'd call us on the phone at the shop and say, "Yeah, I just took a buck out here at 7J," and then I was just sit there and just smile. Like, me and my guys that the shop I owned, we built the arrows and set the bow up that just killed a buck that's going to be on Monster Bucks DVDs from way back when. So to for it to grow little by little each year, and to get to this level, man, it just makes me feel so good to give back. I just want to make sure people get good information, and if I can, keep people having a positive attitude and to have a great experience in the outdoors, even if it's just a small part, man, it means so much to me.
Yeah. It's got to be just unbelievable for you to think about where you've been and what you've done. It's like I said, and I can say it again and again and again, just how impactful you've been in this industry to guys like me, guys my age that grew up watching Bone Collector and Monster Bucks and all that, man. I guess sometimes, I wonder if T-Bone just, just kind of sits back and like, man, I mean, how hard is it for you to believe that just this normal kid from Georgia grew up to have such a huge impact?
Hey, I'm from Ohio, dude.
Are you really?
Yeah, I was born in Ohio.
What?
Dayton, Ohio. Yeah, I was
Really?
born. Yep, I didn't get to Georgia till I was about 5, but my dad was a fireman for the city of Dayton, and he transferred down to Atlanta. So yeah, so I got my roots as a Buckeye, but I'm a go
Dang.
dogger now.
Yeah. Easy, easy. We got a big
Yeah,
game coming up now.
we got a big game coming up. Yeah, exactly. My friends from back in Ohio, they're like, "Who you gonna root for?" I'm like, "Well, I mean, I got 50 years invested down here. I'm a dog now."
Yeah.
Now,
Um,
granted, I will
Buckeyes got
go.
it. Buckeyes got it cut out for him.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
but hey, they got them. They're getting to go to the dance. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah,
I mean, we could kind of talk about college football for a minute. Just that struggle they had with the team up north.
yeah,
Yikes. It was
yeah,
bad.
yeah. It was, man. It was a man. It's like they didn't even show up that day. I couldn't believe that.
Yeah, completely outmatched. So just looking at that powerhouse down there in Georgia, game in Georgia, it's like I'm a little
Yeah.
nervous about that one. But
Well, we've had some games we didn't show up. I just hope that with this much time off, we button things up and we stay healthy. So yeah, we got a couple good strong games ahead of us for sure. But
one more question I want to ask you, T.
yeah,
What's you got a little bit of time, you're not hunting as much right now and stuff like that. What's some things that you T-Bone's been watching? Any of the newer shows, or I mean, What's kind of vibing with you?
I
Do you even
I,
watch a lot of hunting, to be honest?
I don't.
Ben doesn't either.
Yeah, I don't. I don't. I guess I've I'll just be honest. I kind of burnt myself out. Meaning, like, now
Yeah.
that I'm 50 years old, it's not that I'm anti. I mean, I do watch occasionally. I watch something, but
Hmm.
seems like the times that I go to watch, I'll flip it on, and it seems like whatever shows I end up watching, it turns out it was a show that I'd already seen. For some, I mean, I
Oh,
don't know if that's ironically, bad luck, but I see a lot of reruns, but nonetheless, um I watch some stuff on YouTube, but I honestly don't watch a ton of TV.
hmm.
I really don't. I mean, I check, I get updates and stuff through social media and stuff, but been working on bows. I do a lot of office work, administrative stuff for myself, and some stuff for Bone Collector as well. So I stay on the phone pretty good bit during the day, and then plus I still I still work on bows quite a bit downstairs. And
Well, the media's changed so much,
yeah,
like I mean, you've probably seen the huge change throughout all these years, and how people consume this content now is
yep,
so much different, and it's more like fast paced. You see a reel or something on
yep,
Instagram, and that's all you really need to see.
yep.
So yeah,
And then you can watch a YouTube clip with your phone while you're eating lunch. Like if you're working a 9 to 5 and you go to lunch and you're
mm,
sitting in your car in the backside of a Taco Bell, you can watch two hunts on YouTube. You don't even
yeah,
have to, you don't have
yep,
to wait like, oh, 8:30 tonight. I got to be sitting down to watch this show. You don't have to worry about that no more. So, and then plus, you can binge watch, with My Outdoor TV. You
hmm,
can, that app, you can watch. I did find myself like when I was in the hospital back in March and stuff. I watched a couple of our shows from back like 2008 and 9 because I haven't relived any of that stuff in forever. That's been 15 years ago, and to see some of our hunts and yeah, I like, man, I forgot about that hunt in Iowa, and I forgot about that. That was pretty neat. So
yeah,
and watch some of the other shows too that's been around forever. Get to see old
hmm,
Ben Rising back with the Drurys.
yeah, yeah. Ben's working with DeerCast now
Yeah,
again, so
yeah,
he's
oh yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I can't say enough about the Drurys. Is that they're just good for the industry. Period.
Oh
They've
yeah.
been great friends to me. Everybody, if outside looking in that don't know us, they automatically want to draw a line in the sand, like, ooh, they're mossy oak, or ooh, they're real tree. But
Yeah, come
dude,
on.
it is not that way at all. I mean, whenever we're together at trade shows, we always try to carve out a night or two to hang out and go to dinner or something like that. So we've been great friends and been super supportive. I hear from Mark and Terry, at least weekly checking on me, so that I can't say enough great about them.
Yeah, man, they've sure got it figured out.
Yeah, they do. I mean,
Jeez.
that you talk about, just like Ben as well. They just they're just well, I mean, it's been said before, but they're Dr. Deer, as well as Lee Lakoski and Don Kiski. They're all, I'd like to think that I'm doing the same thing down here on Georgia on a lot lower scale. I think I've got it rougher than them because there is no corn or soybean nowhere near me. It's pine trees. So
Yeah,
we got to get creative with corn piles.
yeah, yeah. That's all right.
Yeah, oh yeah, food plots and corn piles.
Corn piles are big in Ohio.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah,
Well, if you follow me, you ain't baiting, you're waiting.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. But anyway, T-Bone, I've taken up enough time here. Like I said, man, I can't thank you enough for joining me, and just everything that you do for this industry. I appreciate it so much. I know a lot of other people do, and can't wait for everyone to listen to this podcast with you.
No, man, thanks for having me on here. You guys keep up what you're doing. You guys have really taken the Whitetail Edge brand and really made it, a place to call home. And you got good guys. I stay in touch with a lot of the guys on y'all's team, from when we hunted up there with you guys. And so
Mhm.
no, yeah, yeah, y'all keep it up. I remember I got my first spray tan while I was in camp with you guys. So
Yeah,
I mean, people are gonna ask themselves, they're like, "What spray tan deer camp,
you have
Ohio?
to,
What?"
go back and look at that episode.
Yeah. So, but no, you guys keep it up. I appreciate it. Y'all have got a good brand going, and just keep doing what y'all doing. And I hate that Ben was missed out on this, but he and I've been texting pretty regular. So yeah, we'll
Yeah,
just
we'll have to get you back on when Ben is feeling a little better. For everyone that was wondering, Ben was a little under the weather today and felt pretty bad that he couldn't hop on here with us. But would love to get you back on with Ben here in the future.
Yep, no worries. Y'all stay in touch, keep up the great work, and I hope everybody has a really listens to the whole podcast and has a good takeaway of all the pros and cons and stuff. I think the decisions is pretty clear, and we're pretty proud of what's been designed. I know the guys at Grace Engineering and G5 are certainly proud of the Mega Meat and the whole lineup as far as that goes. So yeah, if you haven't given it a try, give it a try. You'll see a ton of testimonies, and I think the deer have spoken. They're
Or
dead.
yeah, exactly. And it was never the mission here for like the podcast to be completely based around it, but it, like I said, it's easy when you're passionate about it and you can just go off on a tangent and really talk about that, the
Yeah,
broadhead itself. And I mean, I believe everyone should at least try a mega meat. Not everyone, like we said,
yeah.
but you know what I mean, and
The meat
anyone
and
that listens
taters.
does. But yeah, yeah, man, super appreciate you, T-Bone, and take care. Yeah, thanks again, man.
You're welcome, man. Be good. Bye, bye, guys.
Yes, sir.